In this scenario, right, this is maybe a little bit different than you, because you would be coming back to one of your own mixes and now reapplying the techniques that you've learned. So you would know already about what's going on, but I implore you to take the same approach. Look at things from fresh perspective and kind of come back to it with okay, now how important is this? Like, go ahead and start turning stuff off and just seeing if it's necessary. Because remember, that was also part of the approach, is this level of reductiveness that'll often, we lose perspective in the process of working and we get something that we think is okay, or at least decent or passable, but potentially at the cost of other things that we really wanted. Look at what's happening with this. And this is a pretty classic. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here. This is just, I see this stuff all the time. I see auto filters on and that sometimes aren't even doing anything. You're like, what? This one is filtering at 60 hertz. This is actually automated. That's great. And this is automated. That's great. So these are doing things. It's a low pass and a high pass that are actually going to be doing sweeps at some point. This one is doing nothing and filtering at 60 hertz. And this is filtering. This is just knackering this. So I have a question. My question is why are these choices being made to the frequency response? So I'm going to group that together again for these drums. Just this drum right here. I don't think there's anything on the group. Oh, there is a little bit of stuff on the group. But again, yeah, I mean, I don't know why this is here. It's not being automated. We'll figure that out later. But at least it's not getting in the way of what's happening on the bottom end. So I'm going to have this here. I'm going to turn this off. We're just going to see what's going on with these drums. Remember, trust nothing, right? Trust nothing, children. Always examine. So frequency response-wise, wow. A lot of bottom end in that. A lot of low end. You can check it out here. Tons of bottom end in this. And that might be problematic with all this. It's a little rubby. It's a little rubby. But listen to how thin it gets with this processing on here. Definitely clashes less with the 808. It's like, problem solved. But you've created a new problem. You've hollowed out the drums. So this is it. This is, children, this is the moment. This is the moment when it would all crystallize. I'm going to get an EQ8. Okay? I am going to now shift the focus because there's these hits that coincide with the same hits here. And sure, could I get in here and just chop this and turn it down? I could, just like we did with the 808, but let's listen to what that sounds like. It becomes really difficult to have the intelligibility because we lose not just the tonality, like in an 808, it's a very basic sound. Doing a cut like that and changing a single note in an 808 is a very basic frequency response. It's mostly in the low end. There's a little bit of texture that we're dealing with. With these drums, there's all kinds of top end and room tone and everything else from actual mics. So chopping and turning down does not make the most sense. In this situation, I want to shift the focus of those notes. I want to pull them back into the mix without hollowing out the drums like crazy. So you can see them. And this is going to get a little loud, children, as I find this. Here, I'm just going to loop. See? Not there, not there. Wait for the resonance. Whoa. Yeah, come below it. Sweep back in. There it is. Great. Turn that down. So I'm going to pull focus now because of the lack of linear phase, right? This is going to shift its distance in the mix backwards. And something like that feels pretty good. And we'll see with the rest of the notes. We want to get that balance, right? We're looking for balance in here. So here we go. Then we go for the next one. We got to go this. Again, sweep into it. There it is. Sweep below. Come back. Find that moment. Yeah. And pull it back in the mix. Pull that focus back. See, all the way too thin. And let's get some balance here between these, just so we know we have the line. It's nice and balanced. So before boom, boom. You really hear those accents. Nice and balanced now. And now let's actually listen. So this is it. This is why we did the ear training, right? This is why you can hear these changes now. You're like, oh yeah, that totally pulled that drum hit right back into the mix. Didn't hollow out the drums, didn't mess with a bunch of other frequencies, didn't turn room tone down because we're using clip gain. We're just pulling those frequencies, those hits, not just the energy, but the depth. We're pulling that back into a more flat and linear experience. Even though it's not linear phase, we're intentionally not using linear phase for this because that's the shift we want. Here we go with the way it was before, with all this filtering on. Very thin, very weak. Nice tone, good drums. They sound like drums now. It doesn't sound like it was like hollowed out to make room for something else, right? It's the way other people work, right? It's the difference to what we're doing here, right? This is the difference. It's like you don't have to always high pass everything, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't manage the frequency response of specific events. And this is how we're doing this. This is why all that ear training hopefully actually makes sense.